facing cities, counties, and states across our entire nation. Thank you. Sheriff.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you. I want to echo your sentiments as well in regards to everything that's happening across this country. We have a very big task before us as part of this council. I want to take the opportunity to kind of move us forward to brief everyone as to some of the things that we've been doing as a committee. You talked a little bit about what we've been doing at the level when it comes to mayor, the other mayors across our counties, our cities, and we've been taking this as well for first responders. One of the things that as a committee we've been doing is we've been putting out the information and having one-on-one interviews with the subject matter experts, people who've had firsthand experiences and how it's affected them for the past 10, 15, 20 years and how they've handled it or not handled it at the community level, at the city level, at the county level. And these firsthand testimonies is what we are bringing back to the committee and hopefully bringing it back upward when it comes to solutions. Additionally, we are also putting out surveys. I will be sharing it through the FBI National Academy Network, through the major County Sheriff's Association Network, through the National Sheriff's Association, the Florida Sheriff's Association, and Major County Chiefs Association. These are all major organizations that allows us to tap into law enforcement, first responders, so that we can get the input that we need to be able to bring forth the best information to this committee and to this review council. I'm very proud and honored to be a part of this committee. I'm grateful and thankful to Secretary Noem and Secretary Hegseth and to the leadership of this review council. Thank you very much.
Any further, Governor Youngkin, from your subcommittee?
Governor Bryant, I was just going to conclude by once again reiterating that the broad participation and the extensive effort to invite comments from across first responders, mayors, and governors and emergency management personnel has been a big effort of this subcommittee. And again, want to thank all the members of the subcommittee. And I also want to thank all of those that will be providing us input. We have a very extensive mapping exercise that will collect their input and provide us the opportunity to do exactly as President Trump asked us to do in his executive order, which is to understand how it works today and how it should work, and to be able to make recommendations on how to get states in the forefront and make sure that we are providing collectively the best response possible for Americans who need our help.
Governor, thank you so much. I want to thank you particularly for all the hard work and dedication you put into this effort. Governor Youngkin and I do talk on a regular basis. He is very focused on his mission as subcommittee chairman and has done a remarkable job, as he does as governor of the great state of Virginia. So, Governor, thank you so much for all of your work and what you're doing. Again, our prayers go out to you, the people in Texas that you know and are acquainted with, the loved and the lost there, and the structural damage and loss that you've gone through. We hope that the good Lord will assuage all of the pain and agony of the parents and the families that are suffering at this difficult time. Governor, thank you again. We'll move now to the subcommittee report on disaster response and recovery. Its core purpose is to evaluate how FEMA could better serve the American people as a supporting rather than supplanting agency, and to identify the necessary statutory changes to achieve this transformation. I'll turn now.
What's up, guys? We're gonna go over all the updates. This was a FEMA thing that just happened. It was kind of weird though, because I thought Pete and Kristi Noem were gonna join, but it says join, but maybe they didn't talk.
The Florida Division of Emergency Management.
We're gonna go over some of the updates today. Just wanted to check in with you guys.
Mr. Administrator, you're up.
Thank you, sir. So, Governor, I appreciate the opportunity to present today before you, the review council. I am going to solicit Mark to help me out in Nim's absence. I know that both of us have been talking to him off and on over the last week or so and have some of his thoughts. So instead of one of us trying to do it, I guess it takes two of us to create one Nim kid maybe. But we certainly appreciate everything that Nim's doing out there. First and foremost, at the Sponsor Recovery Subcommittee, we started out with several presentations on statutory functions of FEMA. These are dozens of objectives over a series of what, in essence, falls into 6 categories of work. That is first and foremost foundational authority.
Dave Perkins go fund me.
Then goes into disaster assistance, which is more so the response and recovery, the National Flood Insurance Program, mitigation, preparedness, and last of those 6 categories is the continuity of government and emergency communications. So what we're trying to do more than anything, Governor, is look at these areas in kind of a 2-pronged facet. Thank you. All right. So what we're trying to do is look at that in a 2-prong methodology. And those 2 prongs are, one, what can we provide to Acting Administrator Richardson today that we feel he could do with the stroke of a pen? In other words, things that are very fast acting, they do not require a change to 44 CFR, 2 CFR, any type of federal regulation, are clearly within his roles and authorities as the acting administrator. And then secondly, in parallel to that, we're looking at things that are going to take some type of statutory change that would be obviously need to start with Congress and the Senate. The next thing that we have been doing and will continue to do is conduct listening sessions. You heard Governor Youngkin speak about that. You heard Sheriff Rosie and Mayor Jane talk about that as well. We all continue to do that, both informally and formally, in taking in information and digesting that information. We've been giving that information to council staff so that they can run the analysis on that and get it into our presentations as we meet each week. Something that is starting to emerge, and I shouldn't say starting to, I think we as a practitioners group knew that this was always the case. EMAC, the Emergency Management Assistant Compact, continues to be our #1 go-to thing. I think what's starting to evolve from that, and we've heard this from numerous directors and governors. I'm sure the governors have heard this as well. You see evidence by Texas, you see evidence by New Mexico and other disasters that we've had around the country this year. Governors will send their staff. And I will tell you, as a governor's working directly for Governor Ron DeSantis, he never asks me the question, are we going to get reimbursed? He always does the right thing. He sends the people out the door. We'll figure out the reimbursement later. But at the end of the day, governors will be much more apt to send their individuals out the door if they know they are going to get reimbursed.
What's up, and
how
guys?
can we improve that? And we think we have some ways that we will be recommending to the acting administrator, as well as potentially 44 CFR revisions to help get that done, so that governors know that when they do send help, they're not ultimately going to be given a bill and that come out of local taxpayer dollars versus coming from the federal government. Last, what things that's naturally start, I shouldn't say last, second to last, what are things that have traditionally been a federal role that may be able to be taken over by another partner or non-traditional partner? For example, we've already had associations starting to come forward saying, you know what, we with maybe just a tad bit more money, we could actually take on that role and do that. I'll give you one example, EMAC, back to where I started from. Is typically overseen in large part by the National Emergency Managers Association, and they continue to want to play an active role in that. So could they do more? I think the answer is they're ready, willing, and able to have that conversation. And perhaps it could relieve some personnel at the NOC or the RCCs and some other things that may be able to help us downsize traditional federal government and maybe put that back into a better, more highly functioning space. And then the last thing is we continue to have a conversation, still fleshing it out. And I believe this might be happening at the governor's council as well, but parametric insurance is what is the role for parametric insurance in disasters as we move forward? You know, those specific parameters. Could you have a parametric insurance policy? The simple answer is yes, that's centered around debris removal. That is probably the most costly act that comes out of a disaster is debris removal, followed probably very closely by emergency protective measures. And then as you get into the permanent categories of work, is there a place there? And I know that some of our former administrators have probably some ideas and concepts about parametric insurance as well. So those are the things that we've been working on. I'm going to turn it over to Mark briefly and let him speak about anything else that I may have forgotten or that he's also talked to them about.
Thanks, Kevin. And first of all, just let me say, being part of this subcommittee is an honor for me. You've got three of the best emergency managers probably in the country, leaders, with Bob Fenton representing FEMA, and of course Kevin, and then Nim, and they all have dealt with a number of disasters. So the American people should be have comfort in knowing that you've got people that have the experience that can make the right recommendations. You know, at our last meeting, the secretary gave us the directive to go out and meet with stakeholders, and we've taken that very seriously. And I know Kevin already referenced that. We are going to be doing regional listening sessions. We've got one tomorrow here in Louisiana, but we've also invited the state emergency management directors from Delaware, we call them the lower Atlantic hurricane states, down to Florida, all the way across to Texas, to be with us tomorrow to give their input, as well as Governor Landry's organizations here in Louisiana that have input as well. We're also looking at doing one on the West Coast, in the northern states, and then also with Tornado Alley. And I think, again, the American people know that we're trying to get input, nonpartisan input from citizens, from parts of the country that deal with different types of disasters, from hurricanes to wildfires to, the flooding that we're seeing tragically in Texas. So I feel really good about that we're going to be able to give the secretary what she asked with this input. And it's going to take a lot of effort. We have a short time frame, but we are giving it our best effort to do that. So that's all I have to add to what you have to say.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Mark. And, I think Mark honed in on one thing. I know that there was a lot of social media posting ghost, if you will, of individuals that felt that this particular makeup was a lot of a hurricane Southeast United States individuals. I will tell you, this response and recovery group has painstakingly made sure that we have gotten out of our boxes, out of our states. I've been communicating with the New York State Commissioner for Emergency Management, who gave me a very, very well thought out process of preparedness metrics and things that she was able to pull together. For instance, 73% of all preparedness dollars in the state of New York have gone to all but about 14 nationally declared disasters. In other words, 202 of those disasters were not federally declared, and 73% of the people that responded to those were trained by individuals directly through FEMA preparedness dollars. I think that's the type of stuff that we don't hear about, and we need to hear more about that, how the federal funding is being effective in these states. So again, we have been listening. As my mom used to say, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth to listen twice as much, and we've been doing that. So I would just say we're going to continue to do that, and I appreciate Bob, I appreciate Mark, Nim, for their leadership on this council, and we look forward to bringing you more recommendations in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope you can all tell the 2 subcommittees have been hard at work. The practitioner subcommittee, as we refer to it, has done an outstanding job of bringing in those that have input that would like to discuss more about not only their experiences with FEMA, but how we might make it better for their states, involving governors, involving emergency management, United States military personnel, law enforcement, all are invited to this table. I want to welcome and thank also Brock Long for being here, former FEMA administrator, and Craig Fugate, 2 former administrators of FEMA and live to tell about it. So, gentlemen, thank you. A wealth of information. I would suggest to the committee, let's get all their knowledge that we can before we allow them to leave here. So the final committee is the final subcommittee, report. Of course, that will not happen officially until 20 May of 2025. But Chairman Watley, if you have any comments to make regarding, I think, the final report or what you've seen here today, the two subcommittee reports.
Well, thank you, sir, and really appreciate your leadership here. I also want to thank, Secretary Noem and Secretary Hegseth for their leadership on this committee, which is so absolutely critical. And Governor Landry, I want to thank you. You and Louisiana have shown the rest of this country how to respond to storms. The amount of information that you have accumulated back through Katrina and previous storms, all the way through where we are today. The rest of the country needs your leadership, and we appreciate it very much. So, and thank you so much for hosting this. I've had a chance to review all of the information that has been put together so far, by FEMA, by the staff on this committee, as well as a number of other reviews outside of the committee. And generally, I think that there are some good ideas in all of this information. But there's a couple of thoughts that continue to kind of percolate. I think is the first is that a lot of the ideas that we see when we're talking about what FEMA does, we're talking about how FEMA does it, and the rest of a government response. Because again, the federal government response is not limited to FEMA. Makes sense in a vacuum. But as we've seen just this week, we don't live in a vacuum, right? And the fact is that the storms that we have seen, the fires that we have seen over the course of the last several months are going to continue to happen. And so as we're thinking through what is this response going to be, what does federal emergency management need to look like? We're going to continue to be responding in real time to these storms. And I think that it's hard when there's a lot of conversation about FEMA, about the Corps of Engineers, that we do need to be mindful of the fact that these are people who are working hard every single day to save lives, to protect communities, and I want to make sure that is put in place. Our thanks and our gratitude for everybody who's stepping up, whether it's from the Coast Guard or FEMA or the coast or anywhere else in the federal or state governments that we're seeing. And secondly, I want to thank President Trump for his vision here, because I think that as we have seen over the course of emergency management back to the 60s, every time we see a major event that takes place, there's an immediate reaction to it. Sometimes it is just put in place by the president through executive fiat. Sometimes there's legislation that looks at it, but it's very reactive. And what the president has tasked us with doing here is being proactive and making sure that we are setting up a program that may be FEMA, it may be a different entity, and that we have a lot of other actors within the federal government that are going to be involved. But more importantly, what are the states going to be doing? And what are the local governments going to be doing? That we have a proactive discussion as we're moving forward is going to be extremely important for us. And so I feel like the president's vision.
I have become good friends.
I greatly appreciate your hospitality.
That was nice. Y'all hugged each other the whole time. That was nice. All right. So today, it's not looking good. It's not looking good for the Texas floods. Kerr County has confirmed 95 deaths, including 36 children, which is horrible, man. Horrible. 160 people missing, but I actually saw it go up to a couple of articles, 180 people missing. Let's see here. The deaths, I think, rose up to 119. Let me double check that. They were actually having this press conference too about a smaller county, 119. And Kerr County alone is missing 161 in Kerr County, but statewide, 173. That's pretty wild, man. It's crazy.
As we have on the damage.
Oh shit, let's see.
Construction debris, and that's anything coming out of a structure that was flooded. .texas.gov. That's the state emergency management site where you can go to find the tool that basically you take a photo of your house, you put in some of your information, it gets added to our numbers, and then we'll come out and validate your damage, and then we'll pass that on to the state to review and then on to FEMA to review. So it gets you in the system.
FEMA.
So if you have not been assessed, then please contact that damage.tdem.texas.gov. Now, we still have people out in the field, so you may get a knock on the door yet, but
They're saying FEMA don't exist anymore.
report your own damage, and then we'll follow up with you directly. For those who need assistance, who are currently trying to recover, we've established a number for you to call. When you call this number, and I'll give you it in a moment, this is a crisis cleanup line. There are organizations, including over 40 national organizations across the country, who are looking at this, and some local organizations. And so what folks can do is call this number, describe the type of damage that they need assistance with, or whatever assistance that they do need, and then all these volunteer organizations will go on to this database, and they start kind of adopting who needs what. So there's cleanup organizations. You put your information in here. I mean, you call this number, and they'll put your information in, and then that will be connected to a volunteer organization who can come and provide direct support to you. That number is 512-201-4814. So please call that number if you need any kind of assistance, and that's the best way to connect with our volunteer organizations who are out there in the field.
Aren't you hear the guy speaking?
If you want to volunteer, please don't freelance and go out on your own. It can be dangerous out there, so please be part of an organized effort that's already underway.
Sorry,
there are trusted folks who are out there who organize and give you safety gear, people like the Austin Disaster Relief Network at adrn.org, and there are others as well. But find an organized effort and don't go out on your own, because that can really be rather dangerous. So please keep that in mind as well. And I guess with that, I'll just go ahead and open it up for any questions that you have.
Questions related to damage assessment?
Yes.
Is there a threshold for people to call or not call for assistance on the damage to their home?
Oh, we'll actually help determine that. So if folks have any damage at all, you'll take a photo of it, and you'll tell us whether you think it's minor or major damage, or whether you think your home is destroyed, and you kind of rate it yourself. We'll look at those photos, and if necessary, we'll come out and take more and reevaluate it. We'll classify it and then send it to TDEM, to the state, and they validate whether your home was major damage or destroyed. They're validated, then it goes to FEMA, and they do the same. Then if we get the FEMA declaration, then we'll bring in some FEMA folks who will reach out to those individuals, and we can then begin whatever individual assistance FEMA offers. We can connect everyone with it.
Mr. Snow, you brought up hopefully getting Williamson County added to the federal declaration. I was at Shady River RV Resort earlier this morning. That was one thing they kept talking about was when are they going to get this assistance? So is there kind of a timeline you can give us?
I would like for Bruce to address just the amount of hoops we have to jump through to get that FEMA assistant. So there's FEMA assistance, which we don't have yet. We're hoping to get soon. Then there's some state assistance. Then there's some things Williamson County can do. So Williamson County, we'll talk about that at our court date. But I don't know, Bruce, if you have any more information on the FEMA process.
Sure. So following a disaster, really the first thing that people need to turn to is your own insurance. So you start with your insurance. Because some folks get the idea that FEMA will come in and take care of this for me. And
I thought so. That's what I thought it was going to do. Sure, ain't gonna do nothing.
Once you've exhausted that or know what you're going to get from that, then you can reach out to volunteer organizations to help. Now, some of these organizations can provide furniture and assistance in repairing your home, so the volunteer organizations bring a lot to the table as well. So if it's private property, then you can you go through your insurance, you get volunteer organizations, you also report to us, and then if we get the declaration, then we can bring in additional resources to supplement what the volunteers have done and what your insurance has done.
Okay. So right now, for the debris needing to get removed there, that RV resort, they're just mainly relying on those volunteer organizations.
I'll talk about the cleanup here in a second. So. All right, thank you, Bruce. And did you give the totals?
What the?
I'll just give the totals just so you know. Williamson County fared obviously better than Kerr County, and our thoughts and prayers still go out to Kerr County and the damage and devastation that they're dealing with. But countywide, in Williamson County, we had 54 structures that were damaged or destroyed. We had 11 that were completely destroyed. We had 15 that had major damage to them, and we have 17 that have minor damage, and then we have 11 more that are affected. So those are the people who definitely need to reach out, like Bruce said, to their own personal insurance, plus whatever county services are out there. Just the damage from the waters, I think we had 4 bridges, 2 county buildings, 7 utilities, and 1 water control that are in the process of being fixed. The cleanup efforts themselves, and one thing Bruce mentioned and why it's so important to go through an agency or just wait and be patient on what FEMA can do or what the county can do, is because you just can't show up at the landfill. Waste management, it's a scientific process. So even like you specifically mentioned, the RVs, if an RV is completely destroyed, and I don't want to misspeak, and I don't want to pass myself off as an expert in this by any stretch, but I know specifically for an RV, you're going to have to separate Freon, you're going to have to separate propane, you're going to have to separate the different materials. You can't just bring a wrecked RV to the dump and put it in there. That's not the way it works. They're under some strict guidelines from the federal government and state as well over what can be in that dump or landfill and what can't. So that's why we would discourage just people taking trailerfuls of trash or whatever. So the county will set up, and we have to go through some red tape to get cleared, but we will set up a site to burn natural debris. And natural debris is any bushes, tree limbs, trees, anything natural, vegetative material. We will set down a site to dump that so we can burn that materials off. We'll also have a dump site for construction debris, and that's anything coming out of a structure that was flooded. Insulation, drywall, large appliances. We're going to need everybody to separate that so we can coordinate that trash pickup. I think, let me look. We have a site. So in Liberty Hill, where a lot of the damage is right now, we have a dumpster currently staged at 1650 Main Street. In Liberty Hill, I believe that's the Main Street Social. We are awaiting instructions and the assignment from them. We'll have an active dumpster soon at 1201 Phillip Lane in Liberty Hill as well. We have lots of generous people who have donated dumpsters, but again, we've got to coordinate where, once those dumpsters are full, where that can be located. And I just ask the community to be patient with us while we stand that up. We will get all the trash that's in the county, but we need to focus on debris cleanup on county property right now is where our attention is. Switching to volunteers, lots of volunteer efforts. Williamson County is an amazing community, and we have several ways to assist. Financial donations can go to Central Texas Community Foundation in the Wilco Cares Fund. Individual assistant request can go to Crisis Cleanup. I believe Bruce gave that number, but that number is 512-201-4814. We have a distribution at Operation Liberty Hill. And
okay, so that's one of the smaller counties. We're gonna get into New Mexico in a minute. I was trying to fix my buttons too. My shit's all messed up. By the way, quick update. I'll fix all this other stuff later. But with what's her name? Sadie Perkins. Oh man, she was a lady that, was going off on the kids of Texas, and it's all racism and all this stuff, and so and she hates white people, but she married to a guy, and they're in the church. I watched one of Cinema's videos last night, because this is the lady that was disparaging the kids, and let me see here real quick. And the internet's kind of come back to bite. I don't know if her page is disabled or she blocked me. I can't really tell. But this is the church.
This thing about Sadie.
So this is a little bit more. I guess she said her husband's a pastor.
World, it's all making a little bit more sense now. We all know how she's married to a pastor, but this is their church. Wait.
Oh shit. Oh. Whoa. Oh, my sound's working now? Okay. I gotta get my sound. I gotta fix all this stuff.
Let me tell you what God did. Speed it up. In the beginning, the light of the world on the establishing life as we know. Created by the form of
Hey friends, it's Dr. Watson. I wanted to invite you.
That's the
to join
boyfriend
us
/
this
husband
Sunday
/ partner
for Easter.
/ other.
This is
Whoa. So anyway, that lady, there's been a bunch of controversy. There's been articles, and she's now doing a Give, Send, Go for those that are interested. $20,000 Give, Send, Go, and she's raised 140 so far. After the devastating flood at Camp Mystic, like many of us, was heartbroken, but she also had the courage to say what others wouldn't. Would this response have looked different if the victims were Hispanic or Black? She didn't attack the victim. She did. She questioned disparity, and for that, she's been stalked, harassed, and flooded with hate messages. Now the mayor is claiming they fired Sadie, trying to make it look like they've taken some kind of action in response to the public outrage. But here's the truth. Sadie left that position in January. This was months ago. She was not fired. She was resigned from her own terms. So why are they saying otherwise? Because conservative media twisted her comments. They then handed the mayor a scapegoat. Sadie simply spoke up about racial disparity. If a white public figure had made the same comment, it would have sparked debate and not takedown. That's not true. But Sadie is a Black woman. We stand with Sadie because her words were not cruel. They were courageous. Black women should not be silenced or sacrificed to protect broken systems. Real accountability means protecting truth tellers, not punishing them. All funds raised will go towards Sadie's protection, legal support, and recovery. If you believe in free speech, equity, and protecting Black women from systemic retaliation, then stand with Sadie. And so she's raised 140. That's what she's gotten to right now. Now I want to take a look at a little bit of this morning's press conference. Let's see here. We'll get to the New Mexico thing in a minute.
They're posing about.
This morning they spoke about.
They're posing about
what the cops were doing. Let's see, 13 minutes in.
Kerrville Police Department and other first responders were doing in those early morning hours. And I want to start outside of Kerrville, out in Hunt. For those of you who went out there yesterday with the governor, y'all know that Highway 39 crisscrosses the Guadalupe again and again and again. And all of those low water crossings, when they flood, they create islands where you can't get in and you can't get out, trapping people in their homes, trapping people in vehicles. And that's what happened on the morning of July 4th. One of our patrol sergeants lives out there in Hunt, and he got up, he got ready to go to work, and he realized when he hit the intersection of FM 1340 and Highway 39 that he was trapped on an island that was Hunt, Texas. And he saw people, dozens of people trapped on roofs. He saw people trapped in swift moving water. He gave them encouragement over his public address system in his vehicle. He told them to be strong, that he would get to them as quickly as he could, and to hang on. And he knew he needed help. He went to another detective, Kerrville Police Department detective who lives out there, and he woke him up, and he said, "It's bad. I need you to get your gear on and come find me." And then he went back out. And for 13 hours, those two officers, along with some Hunt volunteer fire department firefighters and an emergency room doctor, provided care to that Hunt community. When it was safe to do so, they waded into the water and they rescued people. They got people down off of roofs. They collected them there at the Hunt School. There was a young boy with a pretty severe leg injury that was given first aid treatment throughout the day. Other people came. Many of them were injured. They provided first aid. They coordinated helicopter evacuations for the most critically injured. communicated the situation back to our emergency dispatch center of the Kerrville Police Department. When the waters began to recede, they knew that vehicles would be making their way out there when it was safe to do so. So they went back and forth, clearing out debris to clear a path for those vehicles. They saw helicopters flying back and forth, making recoveries upriver, evacuating those summer camps. And they were by themselves on that island that was Hunt, Texas.
Mel, do you know a legit way to
Doing
donate?
what they do, serving, protecting, and helping until about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, when other emergency workers and high-profile vehicles were able to get out there. And here in town, in the early morning hours, it's still dark, our officers realized that areas of town that traditionally don't flood were going to flood, and that low-lying areas close to the river were in danger. Our officers spent hours going back and forth. In that first hour, they evacuated over 100 homes and evacuated and rescued over 200 people. And to say that doesn't even come close to explaining the actions that took place. Door to door, waking people up, convincing them that yes, the floodwaters are coming and you need to leave now. They rescued people out of vehicles. They rescued people out of homes that were already flooding, pulling them out of windows. They entered water. There's a trailer park that flooded in minutes. One officer was there by himself and he realized, I need help. He sounded his siren, driving up and down those streets that were beginning to flood, calling on his PA system for folks to wake up and evacuate. And then 2 other officers joined him through first thigh deep, then waist deep, then chest deep water as they went from RVs and trailers and rescued people, carrying them safety through the water. Out on old FM 689, there were 2 people trapped in the water, clinging to a tree. 2 officers were there when the 3rd one drove up. And one of them was wrapping a 100-foot flex line garden hose around his waist to go into the water and rescue those people. And those 3 officers went into the water, and one of them held that hose and acted as an anchor while those other 2 made their way to those 2 victims, and they were able to evacuate them safely. Folks, I don't know how many lives our KPD team saved in an hour in Kerrville, but I know that this tragedy, as horrific as it is, could have been so much worse. And finally, I want to tell you about a member of our KPD team. These guys have been working around the clock. 4th of July traditionally is a all hands on deck event for us because we hold an amazing concert on the river. On July 4th, it was an all hands on deck event for a very different reason. But our officers have been working without time off, without any downtime, 16, 18, 20-hour shifts, without complaint. Yesterday was the first day we were able to give a couple of them some downtime. So we sent an officer home to rest. But rather than taking a day off, a much well-deserved day off, he got up and he put on his gear and he volunteered to go out on foot with a ground search party. And he spent his day up and down the Guadalupe River, going over, under, around trees, searching for victims to try and reunite the missing with their families. I think that is Texans helping Texans in the greatest sense of the word. That's what community is. And that's what's important right now. I want to continue to thank y'all for helping us spread the messages that need to be spread. Before I open this up for a very few questions, just ask you to please, just ask you to please say your name and who you're with before we do that. Yes, sir, right here.
The mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The mayor.
The mayor is supposed to speak now. I apologize. Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry.
Good morning, everyone. As Jonathan Lamb has said, this is a story of tragedy, but it's also a story of heroes. Captain Walter, thank you for all you've done. Every first responder, thank you for all you have done. The recent numbers reported break my heart. And they break the heart of everyone up here, everyone who's been working since July the 4th. I want you to know, I think it's important for the public to know, I think it's important for the families to know. In that Emergency Operations Center, there's not little silos of departments and agencies. They're working as one team with one goal, to find the missing and bring them home. I'm grateful for every first responder, every helper in every field. Those who are feeding the hungry, those who are providing shelter to people who have no home, those who are providing clothing, who no longer have a wardrobe. I'm also grateful for the generosity of the world. Two companies that are hometown companies, companies that started in Kerrville, Texas, announced today and yesterday that they will be donating to the relief effort. Everyone in Kerrville is proud of HEB and James Avery Artisan Jewelry. Had a different name for so long, I'm sorry. Those two companies started here. Their heart is here. We are committed to helping others. After you all go home or go to the next story, we will still be here. We live here. Here. If you feel able to donate to the relief fund, the best source we are recommending is the Community Foundation of the Texas Hill Country. That's the community, their website is communityfoundation.net. There's a link at the top of that page to help you donate. Now listen, I'm married to a retired first grade teacher. And I learned a little bit about classroom management from her. If you yell questions at us, we're probably going to pick someone else to answer, okay? So if you feel the need to yell your questions, I will feel the need to not answer your question.
Oh, okay, we're getting spicy today.
In first grade, they raise their hands. That might be a good start. Yesterday was a disaster, and I was embarrassed. Our town was embarrassed. Your viewers were embarrassed. And I don't want that to happen again.
Oh, you better be on your best behavior today.
I'm going to do something I've been told to do. I'm going to turn it back to Jonathan Lamb to start the question and answer period. However, please make my retired first grade teacher wife proud and raise your hands. Thank you.
Okay, once again, just say your name, please, and who you're with. And I'd already called on you, so yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. I'm Ernie Zuniga with KSAT 12 in San Antonio. A question for the sheriff. The code red alert system has come under a lot of scrutiny in recent days, and now there's reports of a timeline on Friday morning where an Ingram Volunteer Fire Department commander asked a Kerr County Sheriff dispatcher for the code red to be issued. The dispatcher says, I can't, I have to get a supervisor's approval for that. almost 6 hours passes until 10 o'clock, when 10:04, when the code red is issued. How do you account for that lapse of time? What happened and what could have happened in that time?
Okay. As I've said earlier, with every significant event, with every emergency, we're going to have to, there's going to be an after action. Please, y'all, listen to those words, after action, okay? Those questions are going to be answered. I believe those questions need to be answered to the family of the missed loved ones, to the public, to the people that put me in this office. Those need to be, and I want that answer, and we're going to get that answer. And I know that's going to be asked over and over. Please understand that. We're not running, we're not going to hide from everything. That's going to be checked into at a later time. I wish I could tell you that time. I don't know that time. Let me share something with y'all. One of the main things I've been doing is going and visiting the family. We still have some of those missed loved ones here. I go visit them twice a day. As a sheriff,
Well, look into it just like how they looked into the Epstein files.
What I want closure for those people. Okay, and those are important questions. Those are
Just like
we
the
will
Epstein
answer.
files. All right, I put both links in the description if you want to know how to donate. The website they said on the press conference is communityfoundation.net. So it's in the description. It's also in the chat. I just put it there. And there are also the Statesman made a good article. If you want to check out the Statesman, they have multiple places, official places, if you want to donate. And what's cool about the Statesman is if you go and look, they have specific things that you can, it says ways to donate. And then there's specific things. They have the Austin Disaster Relief Network, and they give you a little bit of information. Cash donations, Amazon wish list for cleaning supplies, Arc Highlands, Wilco Cares, Kerr County Community Foundation of Texas Hill Country. They got Texas Children's Hospital. They got Austin Pets Alive. The nonprofit has been raising money for pet transports. It's also collecting dogs and cat carriers and dog food. So if you're into animals and stuff like that, and then they have some verified GoFundMe accounts, that kind of stuff. But the website they listed on the press conference it's there as well.
Answer those questions. I wish y'all would bear with me in that. Okay, bear with me. We'll get them. I can't tell you in a week or two. Okay, we're going to get them. I'm not trying to deflect them. Okay, my primary. I asked you. I've been in this business 36 years. I don't know if any of y'all, or how many of y'all have gave notifications, death notifications. I've done them. What is worse, a death notification or telling somebody I don't know where your loved one was? That's my priority. Okay, now please understand that.
Sir, since you're up, can I ask you a question? Sergeant Lamb.
Tammy from the Hill Country Community Journal.
Yes, we talked a lot about the recovery effort, and it's amazing, but I wonder what we can tell the displaced families. Where do they go? How do they get in touch with FEMA? I think there's a lot of that, and we haven't had a chance to discuss it.
Right, so unfortunately, I don't have the FEMA number. I know there is a FEMA hotline specifically for this, and I don't have it at my fingertips, and I apologize for that. We are pushing out the recovery information through our social media posts. The First United Methodist Church, 321 Thompson Drive, is still the shelter operation for displaced persons through this disaster. They are fully equipped and still accepting folks.
Sergeant Lamb.
Yes, sir. Louis Amastor from the Kerr County League.
Yeah. Sergeant Lamb, yesterday the governor's office said there was 161 missing. Is that a Kerr County number, or is that a roll-up number? Where are we at with the number of missing?
It's my understanding that the number that the governor referred to was a Kerr County number. And again, I have no reason to doubt that number, and it was compiled from the best available information. But we are asking folks to make sure that the numbers that we have are accurate. So if somebody has been reported missing and they have now been accounted for, please let us know that so we can revise those numbers and make sure that they continue to be accurate. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Juanita with Telemundo NBC. Yesterday, Governor Abbott said that 2 days prior to the disaster, he had provided resources and they were here on ground. I know this is a question for you or for the mayor, but he said you guys were prepared, that you had those essentials. What happened? Did you guys have those resources?
Yeah, listen, I'm going to just say what has already been said. At the appropriate time, all of that is going to be reviewed and checked into. I don't have the answer to that question right now. I don't have that information. And rather than speculate, it would be irresponsible for me to do that.
Mayor,
So,
could you speak on that?
Repeat the question, please.
Yesterday, Governor Greg Abbott said 2 days prior to the disaster, he had provided the town with more than enough resources to respond to the disaster. Were those resources here? Locals tell us they didn't see any resources. They didn't see anyone until hours after the disaster.
Thank you.
What resources did you guys have, and why wasn't there any response?
Okay. I didn't see the governor's remarks. I haven't seen the governor's remarks. Last night we had a city council meeting, and I was required to be there. And so I'm sorry, I don't know what resources TDM had in place at that time. I know when I arrived at the Emergency Operations Center on the morning of July 4th, TDM personnel there. But what assets they were able to use that morning, I'm sorry, I do not know.
Mr. Mayor, can I just
Listen, people are yelling, and I didn't really want y'all to.
I told y'all, raise your hand and talk in your quiet voice like my first grade teacher taught me.
only 3 questions, then you're going to have to...
And guess what? You're in Kerrville, and we're going to do it my way.
I understand that.
Oh, shit, we're doing it my way. My way or the highway. Someday you'll see things my way. Cause you never know.
Listen, people are yelling, and I didn't really want y'all to.
If you offer only 3 questions, then you're going to have to...
And guess what? You're in Kerrville, and we're going to do it my way.
I understand that.
Oh, shit. I mean, the reporters are a little rightfully frustrated, I guess, because they're getting limited 3 questions. You get 2 questions today, make it count, and there's like a room full of people, it's limited.
Morgan Chesky, please.
Mr. Mayor, record show.
On some Jeffrey Epstein shit. You guys, didn't I tell you that's old news? You still asking about the Texas victims?
That the concept of flood warnings have been discussed at least 24 times by the county. What's the biggest reason that these systems have not gone into place at this point?
Morgan, you and I grew up here. And I wasn't in office during those discussions. And frankly, I'm more focused on the future than the past, as you know. What I can say is the governor, the lieutenant governor, the Speaker of the Texas House have all provided us support, and they have all said this is a priority for the upcoming special legislative session. As mayor of Kerrville, as someone who grew up here, I'm grateful for their support, and I look forward to what they proposed during the special session. My last question will be...
Thank you, sir. The lieutenant governor said that on July 3rd that the county judges and city mayors were invited on a daily call Thursday to discuss weather forecasts. Were you on that call? Were you invited to that call? Do you know if the county judge was also on that call?
I can't speak for the county judge. That would be hearsay. And I'm not going to contradict the information you have. But I will tell you, personally, I did not receive a telephone call.
You weren't invited to the call?
I did not receive a telephone call.
And you were never given any information about what assets were brought into the area?
So I wasn't invited to the call. I'm not trying to deflect,
No,
but
I understand.
I don't...
Do you know why any idea why that would happen? Or?
Maybe I'm not a local mayor. I can't tell.
No.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Please. From Mexico.
All right, folks, I appreciate that. And
That's a good segue to New Mexico. So I covered New Mexico yesterday. It was a brief video. It was on the Clips channel. So if you don't mind, I know I'm saying it all the time, subscribe to the iCkEdMeL channel. It's a great free way to support me. I'd like to get to 100K eventually on that channel. Subscribers, that'd be really cool. But if you like the extra content and updates, I'm trying to bring new content there. I don't want to rehash too much really main channel stuff unless it's something that people missed. So I'm trying to cover something I haven't talked about here, or if it's an update, a new update. I don't want to rehash stuff. So iCkEdMeL clips. I just yesterday did a little kind of collage of some of the videos. New Mexico looked crazy as hell, the flooding over there. So I did that yesterday. And today there's a press conference. And at the time when I was recording, I don't think there was any victims or deaths, but now they're saying there's some. Let me just double check. I thought they said 3 deaths, sadly. And I think it was 2 kids or so. Let me just double check, though. It might be more. New Mexico. 3 dead. Yeah, they're saying 3 dead. That is sad. That thing looked crazy. Historic flood. It's always historic. How many historic anomalies are we going to have in our lifetime? They say it's a once in a lifetime, and then every other day we're seeing something else. This is something that's never seen before. It's 100 years. 2 days later. What the?
We have Chief Cade Hall with the fire department. We
have a 4-year-old girl and a 7-year-old boy and a man in the 40s or 50s swept downstream.
We have Chief Steve Minner with the Ruidoso Police Department. We have our emergency manager, Eric Queller. So we want to briefly go over what happened last night, and then we'll stand for questions. We can confirm that 3 people lost their lives yesterday in the flooding, and the victims include an adult male, approximately 40 to 50 years old, that we're still identifying, a 7-year-old male child, a 4-year-old female child. Out of respect for the families during this difficult time, we are not releasing their identities at this time. Injuries and medical care. We have 3 individuals that were transported to the center for treatment. All 3 patients are currently in stable condition. Scale of flooding event. This is historic water levels that we experienced. The USGS, the United States Geological Survey gauge at Hollywood in the Rio Ruidoso crested at a historical high of 20 feet. Last year during the historic flood, it was over 15 feet, so we're 5 feet over last year. The water level was again 5 feet over last year, which was a record. This represents truly unprecedented flooding in our community. The warning, timeline, and emergency response. How did we respond? When did they go out? The National Weather Service alerts, the flash flood was issued at 8 a.m. on July the 8th. The flash flood warning was upgraded at 2:20 p.m. on July the 8th. The flash flood emergency was declared at 2:47 p.m. on July the 8th. So as you can tell, it came on pretty sudden. The iPause emergency alerts, 1:58 p.m., the warning alert sent to the Rio Ruidoso area. 2:19 p.m., the alert sent for Cedar Creek and Paradise Canyon area. That was to let everybody know to go to higher ground immediately. The outdoor warning system was not activated yesterday, as it is specifically reserved for full town evacuation scenarios. We had a lot of questions on that. The localized nature of yesterday's flooding did not warrant the full town evacuation. Rescue operations. The swiftwater rescues, our emergency responders conducted approximately 65 swiftwater rescues during yesterday's event. Current resources and contact information. We have a missing persons hotline, so if there's someone you have not been able to get in touch with, call this number, 575-637-0398. This is dedicated to missing persons. General information and non-emergency inquiries, please call our call center. We have it staffed. We had it staffed last night. The number is 575-258-6901. Again, that number is 575-258-6901. Road conditions and closures. The question is, what roads are currently closed and when will they reopen? Currently, there are 12 road closures throughout the village. Safety inspections will happen on all affected roadways before their opening, and that includes bridges. We have crews out, have had them out all morning, that are inspecting for damage as we speak. Shelter and evacuation information. Our shelters are open and we'll tell you how many people we have there. Currently at the Ruidoso Community Center, the shelter is open. We've had approximately 20 people that were in there last night. They were moved to a hotel last night and are currently in there as we speak. Damage assessment is going on right now. Our timeline is we're working on the timeline to complete the damage assessment. Initial assessments are underway, and it's going to take several days. Assessments are still being conducted on how many homes and businesses were damaged. The exact numbers will be available once our damage assessment teams complete their work. State and federal assistance, and the governor has declared a state of emergency and has sent it to Washington, D.C. We're in close contact with state officials since the event happened, most of the night and this morning. Those folks are arriving today as we speak. Are we requesting federal disaster assistance? The process for federal disaster declaration is already underway. The weather forecast and continued risk. We continue to monitor the weather condition closely with the National Weather Service, and there is additional risk. We expect the weather to build from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. today, with the critical areas hitting between 1 and 4. We'll be monitoring those consistently and constantly. So stay tuned to all of our news sources for updates. Infrastructure damage. What is the status of bridges, utilities, and other infrastructure? Our utility crews are out estimating now. There's areas of Upper Canyon, Black Forest that are without water and most utilities. We are in the process of trying to restore those, but in all honesty, it will be some time before those are restored, possibly days. Bridge inspections are going on before we will reopen them for traffic. We had the state dedicated engineers for bridges in last week after a previous flood, and so they will be here assessing the further damage that was experienced. The critical infrastructure repairs are taking place currently. That includes water outages, gas outages, electrical outages. We've been in touch with P&M, our electrical company, Zia Gas. Our own utility crews are out, and we are having a lot of impact currently at the wastewater treatment plant. So staffing has been working around the clock to secure the plant. What about local businesses? When can they reopen? We're working to help the businesses reopen safely and as soon as possible. And in fact, many are reopened right now in Midtown. The long-term recovery and planning. How long will this recovery take? As we've said, on this short term that we're dealing with this process here, it's ongoing. These floods will continue. What we were told is that we received 3.5 inches of rain on the South Fork burn scar in about a 90-minute period. That water came directly into our community and impacted the community head-on. So we said from last year during the fires and the subsequent floods that this is a 3 to 5 year process and could possibly be longer. So we ask for your continued patience. What resources are available for residents? We are coordinating with multiple agencies to provide comprehensive support. Currently, we're having water delivered for those of you without water to different areas. We have that at the convention center. Is that correct, Ron? ENMU. At ENMU is where that will be. So that's the brief where we're at right now. There's a lot of questions I know that you have. I have the people here that can answer them. So at this time, we'll take questions. Yes, ma'am.
Dave Taylor from Fox 10. What have you learned from how Texas has been handling their flood crisis that is helping inform how you are handling yours?
Is there anybody up here that wants to take that? I will tell you right now, all of our contacts from the federal level, state level have been highly activated. They're engaged and they're calling us constantly. We've even had contact from Mexico. The president of Mexico was called. So I think that Texas has put a spotlight on it and that it has really engaged the resources that are available, so we are being contacted. Yes, sir.
As you said, the water levels yesterday were historic. They overwhelmed and in some cases destroyed mitigation measures that you've taken, barriers and HESCO baskets and so forth. Are we now more vulnerable if there are similar runoff problems that happen later today or tomorrow?
Does anybody want to take that? Michael?
So the village of Ruidoso conducted an H&H study, which is a hydrology and hydraulic study. One of the main issues that we looked at was identifying a new flood plain. FEMA in 2014 established a floodway, which is where most homes sit. And so with that floodplain, we had identified that there could be certain issues if 3.5 to 4 inches of rain fell, which is considered a 100-year flood rain. At that point, NRCS did mention that these structures may be overtaken. And so we knew that at that point in time, people did want to protect their properties, and so they placed these items there. They were supposed to hold up until a certain point. It's not necessarily that we're any more vulnerable. We do have the ability to clean what's considered an imminent threat. We are currently doing that imminent threat assessment as we speak. We are looking for debris in the river. We are looking for clogged culverts, and we are looking for honestly, portions of homes that are existing in certain areas that we can clean immediately before the next rains come so that our residents and our visitors are not vulnerable.
One further question. The 65 swiftwater rescues, can you roughly sketch where the geographical distribution of those were?
The majority of the rescues started in the Upper Canyon area. And then we had one mid-Sutterth and then Gallon Canyon. Those would be the 3 primary areas we got the most.
Could you speak to the participation of the New Mexico National Guard in what's going on here?
I'll go ahead and take this one. We've spoken with General Aguilar yesterday when the event was started. His staff has arrived. They are here. Heavy equipment. High water equipment is already here. They've pledged to provide anything that we've requested. So during the assessments, those things will be assessed and requested at that time. But they pledged their full support. They were here before, so they're very familiar with what we're dealing with. So we have a lot of experience.
Have they staged any aviation assets for you at this time?
Yes, we have helicopters. Go ahead, right here.
Yes, so working with the National Guard, we actually did have National Guard pre-positioned here yesterday. They had 2 LMTVs that were automatically activated during the Swiftwater rescue course. If I'm not mistaken, they were on the Paradise Canyon area conducting operations. Is that correct, Chief? So we did have assets before, during, and after from the National Guard. They're a wonderful partner, and we're really glad to have them. To answer your question, aerial assets, we did have a Black Hawk come down from Albuquerque in the Santa Fe area last night. It landed here around the 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock time frame. That was when we were still doing search and rescue operations and making sure that we had those aerial assets to provide lighting support along the Rio Ruidoso. So we did have avian assets last night, and then we also have a helicopter here today, a helo here today. Yeah.
Jeff at El Paso Times. I'm wondering if y'all could confirm that the victims were from El Paso.
Chief.
So at this time, we've got the 3 victims. At this point, we're not releasing, and we haven't released any information about their whereabouts or identities, simply for the fact that some of them are still being identified, and we're not going to have that information out before we contact families. So we don't know the exact locations of their origin.
Okay. Follow-up question, how many people have been reported missing?
To this point, we've got 3 that have been reported missing. The original 3, 1 more that we're tracking down now. The rest of them that have been reported missing today have been located and are fine.
How many?
I think we're up to about 4 now.
Okay. And final question for the mayor. In your conversation with the president of Mexico, what was it that she said?
I actually didn't speak with her herself. I spoke to her representatives that she pledged any support resources that we needed. So again, we will be assessing everything and we will be asking everyone. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, Steve Patterson with NBC News. I spoke to a few residents who said that although perhaps a town-wide alert may not have been applicable in this situation, that they are accustomed to hearing these sorts of alerts in these sorts of emergencies, specifically when dealing with like the fires that you've had. Can you talk about the nature of what triggers a town-wide alert or siren, and how much of the population would this had to have affected for that to trigger, and if that alert or siren should have been triggered in this case?
Sure. Emergency manager. We'll let Eric Queller field that.
So let me repeat your question. You just want to make sure that I'm understanding that correctly. So we're going over the types of alert systems that the Village of Ruidoso has, and then the trigger points for those alert systems. Is that correct?
Yes.
So the village has a multi-layered alert system. We have our Call Me Ruidoso system, which is something called an opt-in system. This is where residents and visitors have to subscribe to get emergency alerts. That's based on their geographical location, so their home address. They also add their home phone number, their cell phone number, and anything else they want to add, like their email addresses or social media accounts. So that's our opt-in system. That's the Call Me Ruidoso system. We also are a partner with the federal government in the iPause system. It's the Integrated Public Alert Warning System. This sends alerts through the wireless emergency alert system. That's the Amber alerts that you get on your phone, as well as the non-weather emergency alert system. That is your NOAA weather radios. And then you also have your EAS, your emergency alert system. That's your traditional media sources, so your cable network televisions, as well as your AM and FM stations in the region. So we have access to that as well. And then lastly, we also have the outdoor warning system, which is your traditional siren that you'll just hear a one tone. And as the mayor said, the current standing policy right now is full town evacuations. A lot of residents will remember this. About a year ago, or I guess now it's been about a year and a little bit more, as we used it during the full evacuation of the town during the South Fork and Salt fires. So, and then lastly, the ultimate last layer, which we did implement yesterday, was the door-to-door knocking. We had Public Works, we had fire, and we had police and Parks and Rec folks going along the Rio Ruidoso and evacuating communities as the wall of water was heading this way. So we always urge citizens not just to rely on one emergency alert system. Always have multiple ways to receive emergency alerts, because one of them could fail. So layers save lives. So we did implement the Call Me Ruidoso system, as well as the iPause system for those local alerts to say to get to higher ground. Again, as the mayor said, for that Cedar Creek area and the Rio Ruidoso area.
Where exactly were the two children who died, and where exactly was the adult male who died?
I hand that over to Chief Bender.
So all three victims were reported missing from the same area on Suttereth Drive, which was an RV park, and they were all found downriver, anywhere from a quarter mile to, it would be about 2 miles downriver.
Where was the RV park? Which one?
Riverside RV Park.
Chief, are those victims related?
2 of the victims are, correct, yes.
The children?
Yes.
I have a question. So, Luis Apalaca with Telemundo. You guys were mentioning that some businesses are reopening, but as well, you guys are assessing the damage. Are you guys encouraging people not to come to Ruidoso right now, or what's the current situation?
We are not encouraging people to come to Ruidoso right now. It's just not safe. We have a lot of damage that's being done. While there are folks in town that is safe for them to be here where they're at, but no, we are not encouraging people to come to town.
KOB. Cassie Foot with KOB. Last night we started reporting on the swift water rescues and that people had been swept away in the flooding. And then we got a phone call from another person at a different agency with the village saying that that was completely untrue. Was there a communication breakdown, and did that hinder rescue efforts?
I'm not aware of any breakdown, Chief. I don't know who you called or whatever, but we have 3 of our own trained swiftwater rescue teams with equipment, boats and all that were ready to go and were implemented immediately. So I don't know, maybe there was miscommunication, but that was never hindered whatsoever. That was immediately.
What time did that first swiftwater rescue begin?
Do you have the time, Chief? I'm not sure when that was. I don't have that information in front of me. Yes, ma'am?
Well, I saw on social media, I'm Melissa Herrera, KFOX CBS in El Paso, how at least for one person, several of their horses were lost. Have you guys heard anything more about that, about other animals, especially people here having their ranches and stuff like that?
Well, we have heard of some. I don't have a total by any means. We're still part of the assessment. I do know that I was told that there were 8 horses that were dead, and then quite a few, dogs and cats and smaller animals.
Yeah,
like
the
that.
horses yesterday.
Yes, sir.
Hegseth KTSM. Just spoke to some residents around the Hollywood neighborhood, residents as well as business owners. They mentioned some of the issues that they've expressed is drainage, the culverts, but they mentioned they said that they're told by city officials it's been an issue because I believe the state owns the highway, DOT, I believe.
Mhm.
If you can explain to some of the logistical challenges in terms of being able to address those issues. Now, combining that with, you mentioned that over 3 inches of rain fell in the burn scar, and that affected it even more, and how you guys have not been able to clear out that because it's a National Park Service.
Okay. Ron, I'm going to have the village manager.
Just to, on your question, New Mexico 48, Sudreth and Meacham, that is the New Mexico Department of Transportation roadway. They're responsible for the drainage on that. Other areas that we have within our local jurisdiction, our roadways, we're responsible for the culverts, for the drainage on those properties there. But we do work with Department of Transportation. We have an ongoing project there at the intersection, Highway 70, New Mexico 48. Department of Transportation also is working on a drainage project that's going to interface with ours, and they are a great partner of the village, and we work closely with them. But just with the drainage, with the as we've been said, these are uncommon with the burn scar, the flows that are hitting us. And back to Mr. Tomlin's question about the flooding or whatnot, being prepared for that with all our bridges and our structures, our staff is doing cleanup. We have the Department of Transportation that's inspecting all of our bridges because we are going to receive some more rainfall. We may have some additional flooding. We want to make sure this infrastructure is secure and we're able to not lose a bridge. We've already lost one next to the boundary of the Mescalero Reservation, and we were in the process of procuring a contractor to replace that on a temporary basis. But on all of that, we're working on it.
Would you say there could be improved collaboration, whether it's not only with DOT or the National Park Service, to improve infrastructure?
Well, we work closely with our federal agencies. This project here on the high T project that we're proposing here, doing the design on Highway 70, New Mexico 48, is with the EDA, Economic Development Administration, and we work closely with the Federal Highway Administration also, and with FEMA. It is a long process in order to receive those funds. Whenever with FEMA trying to work, you have to have it all approved, and once the funding's approved, you still have to have the design work done, and there's environmental processes, there's doing the state historical preservation, also that study for the state of New Mexico, so there's a lot, but we collaborate, and my staff is all the time, they're contacting and working with the federal agencies.
Have you been in touch with the owners of the racetrack, and can you tell us anything about the racing season and about the possibility, if ever, of repairing the racetrack where it sits today?
I don't want to speak for the racetrack ownership, but I have been in contact with them. The racing season is canceled for 2025. The assessments are being...
That was kind of pretty much the gist. Had a press conference today, 3 people deceased, which is sad. Horrible. You see, is this guy still out there? Oh, he left. That's Gone Live was out there. New Mexico. New Mexico, full interview, survivor.
We're standing in front of your home. Can you tell me what happened when you first noticed the notes that you all were in danger?
Let me put it this way. There is a shed back there, and it banged against the house a couple times because the water had risen up so much. And my wife, who was sitting inside the living room, reclined because she had like stomach surgery, thought that I'd fallen off the bed. And she said, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Huh?" And, then we stood up and she said, "There's a river in the backyard." So then we pretty much like ran to the front. By the time we could figure out how to get the dogs, get keys, and try to sit there and get out, we stood right there. The door right there was like right there. And what ended up happening was, we looked down and it covered 4 motorcycles, floated a Jeep, and then my truck, just within a matter of like 5 minutes. And then the water kept coming up and up and up. And at that point it was like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? It's really scary. And I looked at my wife and I kept hesitating because, houses are pretty strong. But then this house next door over here, Leo's house, broke free. And I couldn't tell what was going on, but it didn't sound good. And I looked and I was like, you know what, honey? The water still seems to be going up. We need to get out of here. Otherwise, we're going to get crushed and drowned. So we jumped out. All of a sudden, she like squirts out of my hand. She had like a vest on, and like a flotation vest, and I'd actually had hold of her. And then somehow she just jumped and it went out of my hand. The water was coming by like 25, 30 knots. It was really going fast. And the water just kept going up and up and up. And then if you look over here, the house, see it's like that little angle right there? It was actually further this way. It's just been moved, since yesterday. But we went zipping underneath that, and we're going to try to grab hold of that tree. The water wasn't having that. And then there's probably 4 or 5 crepe myrtle bushes there, and we were able to snag onto a couple of those, and that's what saved us. So we waited for the water to, fully crest and start to go down. And my phone was actually waterproof, weirdly enough. So I was able to call 911 and say, "You need to come get us." And after a little bit, the police came, and they did 3 guys or 4 guys in a row, and we were able to sit there and all of us work our way back across the street. Because the water came up probably, you see that house right there? It got into that house. Yeah. So, and if you look at here, you see there's inside, right over there, it's like there's a line across those drapes.
Yeah.
That's where the water was up to in the house. Yeah, so it was really, really dicey. I really wasn't sure if we were going to survive to see the next day or not. It was really bad.
And you said, you spoke about a moment when you lost grip of your wife.
Oh yeah, I said, we need to go. We're going to have to go and swim down. And all of a sudden she just kind of goes. She moves forward, but the current grabbed her. I thought I had a good grip, but apparently I didn't. So as soon as she started to go, she's in the vest, so she's like a bobber. She's like bobbing along. So I dove after her and swam to catch up. Well, she was trying to grab hold of that right there. There was actually like a wire across that she could try to grab hold of. Christmas tree lights left over. It ripped out of her hand. And I kind of caught up at that point. My little dog is swimming along beside me. And I was like, steer to your right, try to grab that tree. Well, that didn't work. And then I said, okay, those crepe myrtles, grab those. And she was able to get just far enough over that she was able to grab one. And now at that time, I came up behind her and grabbed her, and we were able to sit there and save ourselves.
And what kind of damage is done to your home?
Oh, it's toast. It's done. Yeah, let me put it this way. The whole thing got lifted up and floated down, and there's that much mud inside of it. Everything got floated. 8 feet of water. It's done.
And now your neighbors, they were looking for their family members. I saw that they were using a tractor looking for their family.
Let me put it this way. Leo, his wife, and his 2-year-old daughter, their whole house came this way and bounced off my house and then swirled that way and went over to Greg's tree down there about 200 feet, wrapped around the tree. They're gone. We believe they're dead. It's been 3 days. There's been no hair nor hide. Now, he had a 20-year-old boy that was visiting with him, and that boy actually survived, but the other 3 members of the family did not. So Leo and his wife and daughter are gone.
How thankful are you for you and your wife to still be here today and be alive to tell the story?
No, super thankful. Oh, this is just stuff. I can replace stuff. Oh, yeah. I was going to say, it was like I looked at my wife and I was like, don't worry, I'm right there with you. And it was one of those deals that was like, where she goes, I go. She's going down the river, I'm going down the river. I'll not be one of those guys that go, oh, my wife just got away. I don't know what happened. She just got away in the flood. It's like, no, I was right on her. It's like, if she was going down the river, I was going down the river. It's not going to let her go. Just not going to let her go. We've been married for 35 years. Life without her?
And you lost your dog.
Yeah.
Tell me about your dog.
She's a little 2-year-old Shih Tzu. That big, 10 pounds. Just the sweetest, most vocal, sweet little dog. I mean, talk about a communicator. When she wanted to be picked up, she would sit there and come up, and she would sit there and maneuver. Then she'd kind of stand up a little upright, and you reach down, and she'd kind of jump, and I'd just grab her. And then I'd put her in my arms, and she would instantly fall asleep. And once I was pinned, that was it. We're going to be there for a couple hours. That little dog, oh yeah.
Not the doggy.
And what do you have to say to your community?
I have just like 2 things to say. It's been amazing. Everybody in the neighborhood has really, really come forth and helped. Everybody. I didn't know how many people knew me. I thought I knew a lot of people here, but apparently everybody knows me because everybody was like walking up saying, Scott, what can we do to help? So that's really, really heartwarming. Really heartwarming. And the second thing is, there needs to be like a klaxon system, some sort of like air raid sirens that go off along this river. As water comes up, an alarm needs to go off, like a loud alarm in the middle of the night, so people will hear it and go, holy crap, run! Because they said there was like, beware at 1 o'clock, beware at 5 o'clock, and at 6:30, water's coming up right here. So, yes, if they had actually had a air raid siren go off down there by that bridge, maybe that bridge, we would have been saved. We wouldn't have had to go through the whole drama of floating down the damn river, hoping against hope we're going to snag something. Because harrowing and dicey is the 2 words I'm looking for. Very scary, very scary.
Wow. Wow. All right, guys. I'm going to head out for now, man. I appreciate you hanging out. I just wanted to check in for a little bit. I was doing a bunch of errands today and trying to take care of the car stuff. But horrible, man. The death toll's gone up. The missing people has gone up. It's not looking good, not sounding good. I did hear about Elon, the CEO of X, that she resigned. I did see that. Interesting timing and everything. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Love you. Bye. We'll see what happens later on today.